Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. This is Addis Dialogue from Ethiopian Broadcasting Corporation. Ethiopian government embarked on multi-sectoral economic reforms recently. Among others, agriculture or the economic reform is the case in point. What are the opportunities, the unmissed opportunities, and also untapped resources? Ethiopia is the most populous country, but also the fastest growing economy in sub-Saharan Africa, even across the globe. My guest for today is International Business Development Specialist, Ethiopia's Honorary Consulate to the Republic of South Africa, Dr. Marsha Gebriel. I'm your host, Gzacho Derib. Do stay with us. Dr. Marsha, welcome to your home.
Thank you.
Ethiopia is an ancient country with diverse history and with diverse economy, as the government embarked recently on different and multi-sectoral economic reforms. What do you feel when you are an honorary consulate or an honorary consulate of Ethiopia to South Africa, where Ethiopia is an ancient country?
Thank you. As the honorary consular for Ethiopia to South Africa, it's an esteemed position, but comes with a lot of responsibilities, purity, and integrity as to how I engage with building the bilateral relations between South Africa and Ethiopia. And embedded deep inside the bilateral relations, one has to understand that we do it for the citizens of each country. And when citizens are empowered, a country is empowered. And I do realize that one of the economic reform that Ethiopia has embarked on is not just the sectoral reforms, but also on human capital development. And I maintain that once people are empowered, a country is empowered.
Great. A year ago, when EBC traveled to South Africa, we met in Durban, a beautiful city in South Africa among many cities that we have observed. And we also made a good discussion regarding branding Ethiopia. How do you see that, how Ethiopia is being branded across Africa and across the globe?
Unfortunately, over the years, the world knows Ethiopia from a very negative perception. I could speak personally that when I am often introduced as the honorary consular for Ethiopia, people would ask me, how do you manage? And it is a very, very interesting discussion. And I'm so passionate about our country, Ethiopia, as I said, if you have the image of a child with a leaky nose and a big tummy, that is not the correct image of Ethiopia. Let me just zero in to what the country of Ethiopia economically, socially looks like. First and foremost, when I introduced Ethiopia, we have one of the strongest airlines and a multi-award winning airline.
Right, yeah.
Secondly is we have 120 million people. That is a conglomerate, a collage of human talent brought together. And there is strength in our togetherness. In and of oneself, we cannot do it alone. But taking 120 million people, look at the diversity of the cultural norms, of the talent, of the academia, of the awards. Bring that together. Ethiopia is a powerhouse. And then marketing Ethiopia is such an honor. It's because Ethiopia was never colonized.
Right, yeah.
And then to add to that is that coffee was first discovered in Ethiopia. And that makes us the 8th largest distributor of coffee on the globe. And I can go on, but over to you again.
Good. You have said Ethiopia's economic reforms, the government has embarked on multi-sectoral economic reforms where Ethiopia can be branded close to 130 million population, untapped millions and millions of tons of minerals, irrigable land as well. How do you see the potential that Ethiopians has never tapped and embarked on so far?
So when we talk economic reforms. It's basically changing a country's economic policies and structures with the aim of improving the economy. And if we're looking at the 6 pillars of the economic reform, particularly for Ethiopia, your macroeconomic reforms are, the indicators that refer to that will be obviously your financial stability, your price stability, your debt sustainability. And of course, when those reforms are put in place, it encourages and builds confidence. The structural reforms basically refers to policies that are put in place to ease business and improve efficiency, which of course rebalances growth and enhances productivity in the country. And the third pillar I would refer to is your sectoral norms, and that will bring in your agricultural, your mining, your infrastructure development, and your IT. Once those reforms are put in place, we have various macroeconomic measures that stabilize the macro economy and arrest financial vulnerabilities. So we have, I always refer to Ethiopia as, well, not just but globally we refer to the country of origin. And again, it's so beautiful to be back on Ethiopian soil. And with the current population, and if you add just one more to that population as your honorary consular, I believe we can definitely create a trajectory, a huge difference in our macroeconomic reforms.
You are an honorary consulate of Ethiopia to South Africa, representing Ethiopia. Though you are born and brought up in South Africa, but you are by citizen, by responsibility, an Ethiopian. How do you promote the potential Ethiopia has so far, but not yet tapped, especially bringing back investors to Ethiopia, because there are many investors in South Africa, and you are also crossing the continent. There are many investors seeking where to invest.
That's a beautiful question, and I'm going to look at to enhance the macroeconomic ability of Ethiopia and the business environment of Ethiopia. We would notice that Ethiopia, the government has invested massively, but it is uneven. And the reason I say it's uneven is simply because there must be a public-private partnership to enhance a country's economic ability. Currently, we know that the government of Ethiopia has invested massively in terms of its economic reforms. But to balance the unevenness, I today, from South Africa, will appeal to the private sector to join forces and create an economic stability inside of Ethiopia that the world has still to learn about. So building private-public partnership is very, very important to address not just your social norms, but your economic norms as well.
How do you see those opportunities in Ethiopia where expecting investors to come to Ethiopia, especially in agricultural sector? We can take the green bee or coffee, we can take irrigation, we can take fertilizer. There are many best practices in South Africa that we can mention, especially in agricultural reforms. The wheat initiative Ethiopia is doing currently.
And we know that there are strengths in our togetherness. It comes back to building bilateral relations. And when we speak, when you build not just bilateral relations, but multilateral relations, you invite a diverse talent and expertise to come to Ethiopia and transfer skills to locals. And that, for me, is key. And with the fertile soil that we have in Ethiopia, agriculture can be developed to the point that affects our economic prosperity. I also would love to talk a little about the mining sector that has such huge potential and has showed massive promise in Ethiopia. Currently, I've put together the mining diplomacy for South Africa with Ethiopia, and that's building your bilateral relations in terms of not just your mining sector, but bringing that together through mining diplomacy will have a ripple effect across all sectors.
Okay.
And that, for me, is key. How do you expose EBC to South African content creators or to the world of the broadcasting corporation within various other countries? We zero that down to, I would call it, conference tourism. Let's go one step further. The world only knows you when there is a conference put together and an invite is sent, because those are some of the, inviting keynote speakers from across the globe causes a ripple effect. It is beyond just delivering a keynote address, but it is also identifying the beauty, the landscape, the economic ability of each country's ability. And when that is exposed to various countries, that in itself brings about a multilateral and a bilateral dynamic and a magic that has yet to be discovered.
Oh, awesome. Both Ethiopia and South Africa are members of BRICS
Yes.
in the global south,
Yes.
which can maneuver the dynamism of the world that we are in today, because the uncertainty that we are facing is quite visible. And the political trajectories, the security issues across Africa and across the entire world, where the global south lacks their fair share at the global arena. How do you see the role of these two countries, especially South Africa and Ethiopia, representing Africa at the global arena to be the voice of Africa?
I'm a firm believer we are blessed to be not just positioned, but to be born on African soil. And the world basically are migrating to Africa because they have identified the richness of our minerals, the richness and the beauty of our cultural, extravagance. So we could have every reform and policy in place, but we have to also believe that theoretically we could be sound. But until there is a business advisory council or a lead, let's go back, until there is a leadership with guts and resolve to represent both South Africa and Ethiopia to the global economy, we ain't going anywhere.
We can't go anywhere.
Without a leadership with guts and resolve. It is not time for Africa to hide behind fear or lack of, for lack of a better word, to feel inferior. We have to understand that it is our time, it is our moment, it is our season, and we are on the road to victory.
On the road to victory.
The world has identified that. The world has realized it. How is it that we as Africans have not come to that understanding? Why is there such a spirit of inferiority within us, or a spirit of fear? We house, together with both our population, extends beyond 200 million. Can you imagine when there is a merger of the diverse academia talent, the merger of purity, the merger of integrity between both our countries, and of course to be positioned inside of BRICS, it's mind-blowing. And if we as citizens can only come to the realization that we have within us the power to create, the power to navigate, nothing is impossible to us if we put our mind to something. Again, we cannot have a deficit until there is a strong and a genuine partnership between, we call it the 3 Ps, public-private partnership. Yep. How do we build SMMEs, which is the engine of any economic development to a country? It is when we come together and when the larger corporate sector adopt not just your SMMEs, but also your informal traders. Mm-hmm. Your informal traders, the world refer to them as survivalists. To be a survivalist takes guts, takes resilience, to ride the crest of the wave when you have nothing. Mm-hmm. No university can teach you that kind of resilience, but it's being practically developed and being put into a situation. You know, I always refer to, I use this very often when you look at Noah and the ark. Mm-hmm. He was asked to build an ark when there was not even a sign of a drop of rain. And when people looked at him and thought that he is crazy, mm-hmm. but Noah built in the midst of that resistance. And when the flood came, the very flood that destroyed every living being, every house, and the earth itself, the very flood that destroyed that, caused that boat to ride or to float majestically. Mm-hmm. And if we could build through the crisis and through the judgment and through the resistance, we'll ride the crest of victory, you know, with ease.
Mm-hmm. Unstoppable energy that forces you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That forces you ahead. So
absolutely.
This is a resilience. There are many emerging and global powers, both in the Horn of Africa or the globe that we are witnessing today. Mm-hmm. What sort of strategies do you recommend for Ethiopia to get this maximum advantage in these trajectories and security turbulence across Africa? What do you suggest? Because you are an international business development specialist, you are also a specialist in business administration.
Ethiopia's rapid growth is driven by state-led investment. Mm-hmm. In order to enhance public-private partnership, it is crucial to come back to conference tourism.
Mm-hmm. Conference tourism.
And when a conference is put together, it must not be put together because we have a budget in place. It must not be put together because it's a great idea. Mm-hmm. It must not be put together because we have the facilities. Yes, while all that is important and that is needed, it has to be purpose-driven.
Purpose-driven.
What are the gaps before we host a conference like, let's call it mining diplomacy, the program that I've drawn up for Ethiopia and South Africa, and of course the globe at large? I decided to put something together that would bridge the gap of women in the mining sector. And if we bring a petroleum conference, or we bring a mining conference, or whatever conference, if that agenda is purpose-driven, that meets the gap of any country, I'm a strong believer that the keynote speakers or the attendees and delegates that are invited to address these norms or the agenda will create a ripple effect and will for years to come, and will continue to build upon that success. We take certain industries and certain sectors, and not just mining, but from manufacturing, from tourism, and it seems women stick to a certain sector, but that should not be the norm. We bridge that gap because we have talent to deliver. We bridge that gap because we realize that two is better than one.
Yeah.
We bridge that gap because together, when we come together, we build something that will begin to have real and genuine transformation. So putting together the mining diplomacy for Ethiopia and South Africa, together with the team, we intend to host it between 26th and 27th November. And I had a very interesting question.
Okay.
Marsha, why would you host something like a mining conference or a mining diplomacy summit at the end of November?
2025.
2025. I mean, we're entering into season and people are busy planning, businesses are planning for Christmas and the holidays.
Yeah.
Why do you bring something like a mining diplomacy right at the end of November 2025? I'll tell you why. It's because I'm purpose-driven.
Okay.
I am transformationally led. On the 25th of November, the world celebrates 16 days of activism.
Yeah.
This would be a good time for not just Ethiopia and South Africa, but the globe, to come in and ensure real development and real empowerment to mitigate gender violence. An empowered woman is a courageous woman. An empowered woman empowers other women.
Empowering each other.
They empower other women. So what better time to host tourism or conference tourism during this peak period of 16 days of activism? Aren't the world tired of just creating awareness? Can we not come to the table and bring the mining sector and bring the petroleum sector and bring the manufacturing sector and bring every sector, even the IT sector, to the table and pledge their commitment to empowering women during 16 days of activism? And in turn, you showcase your true ability as a sector, as an industry, as a corporate, and as a government, as to how you bridge the gap and empower women for real.
Okay, empower women for the real, and which is purpose-driven. What will be the role of EBC in this regard? You are organizing a grand event that can promote Ethiopia's mining diplomacy besides bilateral relations between Ethiopia and the Republic of South Africa.
We give you the opportunity, EBC, to broadcast true transformation for women, empowerment, true transformation. You have the ability to transport content through your technology across the globe.
Very good.
You have that ability. However, if content is not current, then you are just a mere norm of transporting content.
No.
And I invite you today, sir, to look at genuine content that enforces change, that leads change, that creates development, and bridge the gap for real amongst various sectors.
Very good. Really wonderful analysis and remark. Really. Ethiopia's Honorary Consulate to South Africa, International Business Development Specialist, and also Business Administration Specialist, Dr. Marsha Gebriel, thank you very much for your analysis and for your remarks in this regard. And this is a special occasion for us too.
Thank you so much for having me here. Always an honor. I appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation with me, and to the country of Ethiopia.
Your country and your home as well.
My country, my home.
Your home.
I have a very good mentor that says, nothing moves without the saints. And today I'm going to zero that down. Nothing moves without the citizens of Ethiopia. God bless you.
Thank you very much once again. Really much appreciated, Dr. Marsha. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good. See you again also probably in a couple of months or at your grand event, which will going to be convened by the end of November 2025.
I look forward to it. And thank you again. Thank you.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, by this, we come to the end of today's show. You can follow us on different social media platforms of Ethiopian Broadcasting Corporation. Until we meet with another edition of our Addis Dialogue program,